Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me. Um, Give me some bacon in the chat if you can, please. Um, I am starting this stream early on purpose. Has nothing to do with me trying to get a jump on anything. It just has to do with me making sure that the stream functions as to not have a repeat of last time. And that timer there, that's just the timer down to the original stream time. I've already been in contact with Mike Kavanaugh. Let's see. As far as my stream being quiet, I'm showing myself at a rather high level. So you might want to try and turn your speakers up there, Rick. Um, just to show everybody. This is my microphone audio, and it's coming through pretty good. So, rhetoric and discourse is still on. Okay, well, if rhetoric and discourse is still on, that's cool. But the like I said, we're not going to start this for about the next 12 minutes. So, I'd like to say greetings to everybody that's in the chat. Thanks for stopping by. I see Rec in there, Ugly German Truth. Rec, where'd your thing go? Hold on. Gotta straighten you out, Rec. Okay, Rec's been straightened out. The I only read 4x4. So a quick word again to the moderators. Um, like I said, I have no problem with you timing out people and stuff like that who are starting a general nuisance, and they're just to be, well, to put it plain, be assholes. However, like I said on the previous stream, nobody mutes anybody on my channel. I mute people on my channel if I decide that. So please be cool about that. If like I said, if you've got to put somebody on a timeout because all they want to do is just raise hell, I'm totally about that. You guys will be watching the chat far more than I will. I will probably not be addressing the chat through this. Because the intention here, just so everybody's aware, the intention here is that Mike Kavanaugh invited me to do this. Okay, he has some issues with a couple of the critiques that I have made on FECore. Now, it could be limited to just the gyroscope tests, which I have critiqued most recently. He could also bring up my thoughts that I have. Well, there wasn't much to the force the line experiment. Other than a bunch of diagrams, there really wasn't much to be expected out of that. But I was also very critical of the Lake Balaton tests and the other one that they did in the Netherlands with the laser going across the lake. So I have some very specific information on that, me personally, and as far as my opinions as to how that went and how that's working. And so if he wants to bring that up, I'm 100% cool with it. I will deliberately not be responding to some of the quotes that are from Sean, as we covered in the previous hangout. Sean and I are in agreement that Sean's claims against FECore are different than mine. While we share some of the same opinions on various things, Sean has his Sean definitely has a couple of things to say about the business side of FECore, of which I am not terribly versed, with the exception of my thoughts on, well, having people pay for what I consider to be false results. So, yeah. So that's kind of where this is going this evening. So it's I'm pretty much going to be having Mike take the floor for most of it. I do not know exactly how long this is. I'm going to hash that out with Mike when he first gets here. He and I have touched base already in the back chat of Hangouts, which I will be carrying the call between he and I. And I have no problem with anything that he wants to present, and we'll see where this goes. Um, like I said, I've pretty much stated my opinions on these things, and I've also stated the I've also shown demonstrations of the things that I have uh, mentioned, and I want to make sure that we stay on topic or on topics, excuse me, and we'll see. Like I said, we'll see where this goes. Sean's probably going to be listening in a little while. I know Gio's actually going to be out on the road, as he stated. And so, oh, there he is. Well, like I said, do 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 do. Mods ban everybody but me. Interesting. Yeah. But like I said, so that's just the general overview of what I'm going to be doing. I have no interest in turning this into a shouting match. Now, some of you do know that I do get a little bit frustrated when people try and give me answers that don't make any logical sense. In other words, if they are just opinions, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm also not a person who agrees to disagree when it comes to science. Meaning that, well, sure, there's some larger things and larger theories and all this other stuff in physics that people can talk about until their eyes go bloody. My thing is more, we're talking about things that we actually have access to, gyroscopes, lasers, and various materials and stuff. So to me, agree to disagree is an opinion-based conclusion, whereas saying 2 plus 2 equals 4 and somebody says it's 5, that's not an agree to disagree situation. That's this is just where we're at. So, what up there, Tommy? So, and if you're Sean, did you post your new thing? Because if so, I'm quite certain that people will be able to take a look at that real quick before all this starts. Now, I'm going to say that the delay on here, the delay is pretty big. Let me go ahead and show you this. This is the delay right here. It's about 30 seconds. Actually, about 29 seconds. This is what's being pumped out to you guys. This is what's on my screen right now. So be aware of delays. If we do actually get to responding to people in the chat, the delays are pretty big. So, yeah. Let's see. Well, as far as the ring laser gyro thing, I never really caught that as an FECore thing. I caught that as a Bob and various other people on his, should I say, in his circle of friends thing. Bob has made it very clear that that is not a we thing. So I don't know. I don't know if Mike would even have an opinion on that. I might ask him, but since it's not something that FECore themselves has presented, I'm not at this time inclined to go into that. Hey, Brannery, thanks, man. You get sex 30 times, bro. Let's see. 6 divided 2 plus 2 plus 1. Okay. No, I was just on their site today, Everett. I didn't see that. The only one that is still listed as pending, well, I mean, It's as far as I'm aware, there's only 4 tests on there. I think 5. Wait, hold on. Let me go ahead and check. Let's see, FECore. Did they change something on their site just today? They changed a layout since this afternoon. Interesting. Yes. Oh, yeah, they definitely changed the layout here. Okay, so as far as tests go, I've done a critique on at least the information thus far on this. Force the level, I did that. I spoke about it at least. This one, I'm open to discuss. Aries failure, that's interesting, and the laser experiment, but I don't see anything else on there. So let me go ahead and try to get Mike up on the line, and then we'll get this moving. Okay. All right. So he says he's there. He had some family business to attend to just prior to this. He let me know. So, whoops. I got an echo going around here. Where's that echo coming from? I have audio coming through somewhere. Oh, I know where it is. It is... Wait, where's that echo coming from? Hold on a second, Mike. Working out an echo. 1 sec. Is that in here? No. It's not in there. I had the sound turned off on this. Oh, geez, here we go. That's the mic. That's desktop audio. Not going to need that. Not going to need that. Kill this. Kill this. Don't need that. Where am I getting this echo from? What the heck? It's got to be coming from OBS. I just put my headphones on, and that's why I'm... No. Where is this echo come from? Well, let me go ahead and get the start up here, because the echo... Does anybody else hear this echo? Oh, it's going to take 20 seconds for anybody to say that. Okay, so nobody else is hearing the echo but me, so that means it's local. Hold on. That means I gotta be monitoring it somewhere. Ah. Now I know where it came from. Okay, sorry about that. It came from the fact that I have my webcam on the side here, and I was actually picking up the audio from there. So, alright, let's go ahead and get Mike in here. So, I'm going to call him. Wow, that's loud. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Sly.
Ooh, you got kind of a rough connection,
Hi,
man.
can you hear me?
Yeah, well, I might have just taken a second for it to kick off there. Alright, hold on a second here. Let me go ahead and set up the thing here. Loop, like that. Bang, like that. Transition, so I can move this over here. And I can go full screen with it. so nobody could see the hangout information. All right, so let's see, like this, display capture, transition. All right, I'm getting the hang of this. I swear.
Eventually, right?
Yeah. So, greetings, Mike. How you doing tonight?
I've had a busy weekend. We're going on holiday next week, so we're busy packing.
Oh, cool. Well, I hope you have a safe trip. The so you have questions about my critiques to FEcore's work. I have pretty much told everybody in the preemptive time to my hangout here that this is pretty much, you're going to be kind of controlling what we talk about here to a certain extent, because this was your invitation to me, and I am ready to answer any question that you might have.
Okay. Well, before we get into any technicalities about the test that we've been doing so far, I would like to get one matter cleared up,
What's that?
which is the legitimacy of FEcore. There was some comments made about us committing, if I remember the words correctly, tax fraud, federal prison, and bitch.
Okay, well, in that sense, as I spoke to you off of this chat here, those are claims that are made outside of me. While I may or may not agree with them, they are not claims that I personally have researched.
No, but they're false claims, and they've been made repeatedly, and it's defamatory in nature, and it's not true. It's based on zero evidence. No evidence is ever presented, and there's if we're critiquing stuff, then there should be no hypocrisy with regards to the subject matter.
Yeah, I, I
It's,
I totally agree with that, but at the same time, like I said, these are not critiques that I personally have made. You understand what I
well,
mean?
that's not entirely true, Sly, because you specifically mentioned that we removed any mention of us being a non-profit.
And I was like 2 minutes later, I was corrected by GeoStraber, who found out that it was just on a different part of the site.
Yeah, but the thing is that is something that we would never do because we're registered as a non-profit.
Okay,
So
well, like I said, the business side of it, as far as nonprofit versus nonprofit, I am not that well versed in it. I
no,
don't. I did point out that I did not see in location that it was before, that I did not see the block that used to be there about you guys, registering to become a
well,
nonprofit
the
and all
only
that.
thing that we've changed on our website is, and we were made aware of that by another 501c3, is that we mentioned on our website that we're already registered as a 501c3, and that was obviously not true. That was a mistake made by the web editor, and that was corrected into that we're in the process of becoming a 501c3.
Okay. Okay, but like I said, that's not something that I am either versed in very highly, or to be to be 100% honest with you, Mike, and I'm going to be as blunt as I can about this. It's not something that I really care about.
No, and I understand that, slide, but it's still, these airwaves are coming out of your channel, and that makes you responsible for it.
Well, should I hold you personally responsible for everything that is said by members of FECore?
If it comes through the FE Core channel, then yes, then I am the end responsible person.
Interesting. Okay, so quotes that were made by, let's say, Bob Nodell at the FE conference, which were not posted on the FE Core thing, even though they were sitting up there representing FE Core. Are you saying that those are not admissible?
If, as I said, if they're not coming through the FE Core channels, then they're personal opinions by board directors.
Even if he's sitting there representing FE Core personally?
I'm not sure in which capacity he can represent FE Core at a flat Earth convention.
I could actually probably bring it up for you. I can bring you up the quote too, but
Where was it? Where was it?
I don't remember exactly which conference it was at. Hold on a second.
I think it's the 2017 in Raleigh where we announced that we were going to form FE Core.
Right. So, would you consider that speaking in the capacity of FE Core?
No,
No.
because we're not officially a business then there yet. We only announced our formation.
Interesting. Okay. Would you consider quotes from people of FECore during testing performed by FECore as admissible?
Um, and I think you mean with admissible that I'm not responsible for it, but if they're done during our tests, then yeah, sure, we're responsible for anything that happens during those tests.
Okay, now, as I understand it, FECore has stated numerous times that they are not a flat Earth organization, nor are they trying to prove flat Earth. Am I correct?
Correct.
Then why was it that Bob said during your Lake Balaton tests, Bob specifically said flat Earth confirmed?
Well, that's his opinion, that's his belief,
But
but
is he not speaking in the capacity of FECore?
oh no, he's speaking his opinion as a director. He's not
Okay,
representing the.
when is his opinion to be considered something
Well,
that is spoken for
there's
FECore?
a difference between the individual and the body corporate. The corporate body FE Core needs to um, put out these statements to its own channels to make it bound to FE Core. The personal opinions of board directors are irrelevant to the opinion of the corporation.
Excellent. Okay, so nothing that Bob says can be held as FECore unless he says it actually in some capacity on the website of FECore. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Now, I can similarly say that the opinions held by other members who actually show up on my site, I can also say that that is their opinions and therefore I will not be held responsible for them. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, and that
Does
should
that
be
sound
correct.
correct?
That does sound correct, but if I were to file a defamatory claim for the statements made, I would be coming to your channel, not the
Right, but the
guest.
person who would be held responsible for those comments would be the individual saying the comment, correct?
Eventually, you would have to redirect me to the persons responsible for saying that.
Which you are fully versed in knowing who it is.
Yeah, but I've
Okay,
tried.
then that's clear. Okay, so on to experimentation, because like I said, I am not going to discuss the business of FE Core. I'm
Well,
not going to.
you do. Now, before we go into the technicality stuff, there is the matter of your opinion that we're lining our pockets, and I would like to see some proof of that claim too.
By the fact that you guys take donations, okay, large amounts of donations, you have a membership service, and yet you have yet to produce a complete and solid result that complies with logic. I consider that fraudulent behavior.
And there wasn't an answer to my question.
Yes,
Your
actually it
claim,
was.
no, your claim is that we're lining our pockets with money from donations, and
Mm, are you saying you're not receiving donations?
I'm not saying that we're not receiving donations, but
Okay, then what are you trying to
direction
get
of
me to
where
say? That you're not receiving
direction of
donations?
where those donations go is a different story, and you don't know that. You're assuming
Oh,
it's ending in my
I
pockets.
assume that it's going to FE Core and you are the president, correct?
Correct.
All right then. That's pretty much the end of that.
Well, no.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
still,
You're not receiving those donations then?
the corporation is receiving those donations.
And you are the president, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So where is that money going then?
Would you like to see our balance?
I don't really care, to be honest with you.
No, you don't want to see the truth. You don't want to be confronted with the fact that we're not lining our pockets, that we're not being fraudulent. Now you just don't care.
No, producing fake results is being fraudulent.
What is your proof for that we're producing fake results?
Pick a test that I've critiqued and I will show you.
Laser experiment.
Laser experiment. You and I had a nice, wonderful discussion about that. What do you call it? And it was a civil discussion, of course. While we do not agree, but my primary, I have a couple of problems with the laser test. First of all, you have this great device that you guys developed called the salad device, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now describe to me in just short form, because I've already read it, but just for the people listening, so we're all in context and we're all on the same sheet of music. Describe to me in very short form what the salad device is meant to do.
And steer the direction of the laser on the horizontal and vertical axis.
Okay, and the what do you call it? And based on a coordinate system, GPS, right?
Correct.
Okay, so if am I correct in saying if you put in a GPS coordinate on there, the function of your salad device is to aim at directly at that spot, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why was it well, this is going to be a technical critique, but why did that never work?
Mm. Why did it never work? It worked seamlessly on both occasions.
I will actually say I will refer to you to the testing that you guys did and had the live stream of it, where you had to use fireworks to identify somebody's location, but you could have used their GPS locations and the salad would have pointed right at them, right?
Now that's when you're relying on poor intel because that's
Poor,
Peloton.
poor intel. You get that from a cell phone, man.
No, 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 no. The fireworks was used in Hungary, and in Hungary the GPS targeting system was not installed yet.
Oh, so the salad was not used during
No, I
the
didn't say that. I said that the GPS system was not installed yet.
well. That's the driver of the salad device. So
No, no. The driver of the cell device are the two stepper motors that.
I don't mean driver as in the thing that makes it move. I'm talking about the thing that makes it aim.
Well, the aiming was done manually in Peloton, and because we were having so many difficulties with the unfamiliar terrain there, I decided to overcome that problem by installing a GPS targeting system. So you don't have to actually know where you're
Okay, so
pointing
the
the laser
GPS.
at. If you have no frame of reference on the horizon, you can just let the machine do the job for you.
Okay, so the GPS was not installed at the Balaton then.
Correct.
Okay, then I have nothing further on that particular point. Then my question was honestly, why was it failing if it was installed? But if it wasn't installed, I'm totally cool with that. What do you call it? Now, um, you and I went to had a discussion at rather great length, and unfortunately, that thread was removed by the person who actually started that thread. It was not removed by you or I. And I even showed that thread at the end of my critique on the laser thing. Now you stated to me that you used that DeWalt laser level to level your laser, correct?
For the initial leveling at the location, yes.
Okay. Now you and I, although you disagree, you that number one, there was nothing in the documentation that showed that that actually occurred, as in the laser from the I mean the primary laser and the laser leveler. There was nothing that was ever shown that that actually occurred.
Correct. Yes,
Correct.
it was omitted from the document.
Right. Now, the other thing, and to be honest, the all the other pictures of lasers hitting tapes, like measuring tapes and stuff like that, none of them, even independently, showed that particular setup. Correct?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, there were several. Well, the only pictures that you have of a leveling laser were in the Netherlands. Those were
Correct.
the
Yes.
four tests that you did in the Netherlands, and you have pictures of the laser level. I don't remember the height, but it was the same picture used in all four things. And what do you call it? But that was showing the laser level. But all the Balaton stuff, and to be honest, with all of the all the tests in that entire document that you guys produced, none of them showed a height that would actually correspond to that level that you gave.
What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well,
I
as I had pointed out in the video that I made about this in the critique, what I had noticed was that the fact that given the measurements of the DeWalt laser level, and its height per the pictures that you guys showed, its height above the laser, which was only about 8 centimeters, which was actually about 6 if you take into account the laser itself's height due to its own frame. Because it sits like a flashlight, and the beam's actually about a little bit higher than the exterior of the frame, of course. Um, there was no pictures of any. All the measurements that were shown, there was like 3 pictures that I had found, both on your website and on the document. that were pointing at the tape measure and they were hitting the tape measure, but none of those seemed to correspond with any of the heights that were given for the laser level.
The laser level was, the horizontal beam from the laser level, when you
Right?
put it behind the laser itself, it's slightly higher.
Yeah, yeah, got that, 100%, 100%. But there wasn't anything that was shown in the pictures with the main laser hitting the tape measure that were even remotely close to what that laser level height of that red horizontal line was showing. I understand that there's no pictures of both lasers hitting at the same time. Totally cool with that. But even the pictures of the laser level, or excuse me, the of the main laser hitting the tape measure, the distances that are shown on those tape measures are, quite wide away from the further than they needed to be, uh, than where the laser level would have put them.
Wow.
I mean, I ran the number. Or I looked at the numbers on there. I didn't just look at the picture and say, okay, they hit a tape measure with a laser.
What was done exactly? We set up the salad. It's when we returned it from Balaton, I cut it in half so it was easily transportable, and I didn't have to take it apart and build it up, assemble it on the spot.
I'm sure that was a logistical nightmare. I feel you there.
Yeah, no, and still now it barely fits with the doors open. I can transport it, but I can manage to drop it somewhere and set it up.
Mm-hmm.
I set it up without the laser on top of it. I level the beams with a spirit level. I level the high molecular polyethylene strips with the spirit level, and
Right.
then what I do is I install the laser on it, and then the laser needs to be roughly level to start with the leveling process itself. And the initial leveling, the rough leveling, is done with the laser leveling. That the distance we had at that location was about the length of the salad itself, which was about 4 meters from the source. That was the maximum amount of leveling that I could do at that location.
Okay.
Now, even when I thought I had it roughly level, I remember that I pitched it up about 200 or 2,000 steps. I can't remember it correctly, but just to make sure that the beam was not hitting the water. And then the aiming was done based on a landmark that I knew, and then we went over to the other side and left the controller there at the salad. And
Okay.
then we found the laser shining on the trees. I think it was 50 meters away from us, and we went down to the beach, and the cool thing was that there was no wind, so the lake was a complete mirror, so I could see the reflection of the beam where it was exactly pointing at. So all we had to do was line the reflection up with our feet, and that's what we did. And then we pitched it down vertically so that the camera caught that distinct white flash when you look down the barrel of a laser.
Okay.
We made pictures and video of that, and then we pitched it up again so it was roughly at the same height as the source,
Now, what was the distance of that particular test?
and that was 20.26 kilometers, if I'm correct.
Okay. Now, tell me this: was your intent for this laser test to hit a target and put a put a bead on a target, or
No,
was it just to see the laser?
no, it was to line the laser up with the optics. It was not,
No, but I mean
we,
the ultimate goal of the test. I mean, after all the pre-tests, I'm cool with that. I mean, you got to do all kinds of prep work, and I know how painstaking that can be. But what was the ultimate goal of the test? Was it to see the laser at the other end, or was it to hit a target?
to hit a target.
And did you hit a target
Yes,
at 22 kilometers?
at 20 and 20, if I remember correctly, it's 27 or 29. Now
Now,
the 20 was the reference location. That's where we level out the laser. and then we do a level transit on the horizontal axis of the solid to the target location, and that's the distant location that you want to shoot at. And in our case, with the first test, it was
Okay,
20,
now
27.
there are two photographs inside of the document that you guys released. And those two photographs, there's two photographs of some kind of laser hitting a large grid target, like a sail. Um, is that the results of those two tests?
No, no, that's just to showcase
Because those
what
were
we.
shorter range, right?
Now there was pretty close by us. I think 20 meters or something.
Okay, now why did you not release photographs of the actual laser at this 20 something kilometer distance? Why did you not release photographs in that results document?
Well, not that there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for that. And the night we went out to get those measurements, or when we got those measurements, was actually not intended to actually be an actual measurement. I was just going out there to test if the GPS system was actually targeting the laser in the right direction. So we did went out with my phone and a P900, and we managed to get some on camera, and we took some pictures.
Okay.
But unfortunately for that night, because it was a perfect night, we should have brought more massive camera gear, definitely.
Okay, so it's safe to say that although you state that there was a target that was hit, and which would have basically confirmed all of your work, you don't have photographs of it.
We do have video and photographs of it, but they're made with a P900, and the P900 is not the best camera that you can have at those locations.
Okay, are these photos and videos, regardless of quality, ever going to be released?
Yes, yes, we're there's a massive dump of media that we're going to release pretty soon. I hope we're waiting for a special occasion. And one of those media releases is the TLT video, which is about an hour long. It's already, well, it's almost done. We're still in the editing phase, but
Okay, I'm not familiar with the TLT video. I don't know what that
it's
means.
terrestrial laser targeting. That's the laser tests.
Okay, okay. So you are actually making a concerted video showing all of the laser tests that you've done, including this hitting this target.
Yes.
Okay. Now, is it discernible? I mean, aside from looking up at a sail and saying I see a laser hitting that sail, is that does it also kind of look down range, back at the laser to so we can all kind of get a look and be inspired by the distance that you hit?
Well, it's pitch black dark, so it's hard to see what you're looking at. The cool thing is that you can see the reflection of the beam from where it hits the coast all the way to where the limit of your eye basically
Okay.
reaches.
What was the did you guys measure the dispersion of the laser itself?
No, we used an uncollimated laser for the tests here in the Netherlands, because we're lining up the beam with one ray of the optics. Where there was no real need for a collimated beam, because we're not trying to span a distance of 60 or 70 kilometers.
Well, I would beg to differ with you on that because
Well, and
even even no,
I
I'm just saying because given the two photographs that you actually do have, on the website and in the document, even for the short range tests, that laser had already dispersed quite a bit. I mean, it was probably about a good 2 feet across.
Yeah, the blue laser was an uncollimated simple laser pen, and the green laser that we used in Hungary, that was actually the specially designed laser. But
Okay,
we wrecked that on the first day, so that was pretty unfortunate.
okay. So now, one thing about the leveling thing, and this is just a conclusion that I would like to make about the leveling thing because it was our discussion point before. Um, if you don't mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring this up, and I'm going to share my screen to you in the call. Okay, so you can see it instead of having.
Give me 1 minute, Sly. I need to get a drink. I'll be right back.
Sure. jeez. Damn it. Hold on. Well, hopefully I don't get porn bombed for that one.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, hold on a second. I'm trying to, I hope I don't get porn bombed, but I think I just showed the phone call link in the chat or in the live stream. So hold on a second.
We can start a new stream if that's
Okay.
safer.
Let's see. Well, no, we'll just keep going. I do have a little bit of control over who comes in here. So, and plus, this will not stop the stream. It'll just interrupt the call between you and I, of which we can start again.
Okay.
Let's see here. So, share screen. There we go. This share. Okay, and okay. So, this is my webcam right now in my little office here, my little war room. Okay. Now, what I just wanted to conclusively show you what it was that I was discussing with you, and you and I were kind of at odds about. Okay. Now, what I have here is I have a very cheap mock-up of your salad device. Okay, this is a laser. Okay, this is an actual laser pointer here, and then on top of it, I have a Bosch laser level, which also, just like the DeWalt, does not have a locking function. Okay, in other words, you can't point it in a direction and it will stay, pointed. When I move it up, it'll move up and move down. It stays level within, I think this one's got like 4 degrees. Okay, in other words, you can't lock it into place. Okay, and that's the same as the DeWalt. Now, what I'm going to do here is I have set up a screen down here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my. Oops. First, I'm going to turn on the laser. Okay, and let me. And ultimately, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the laser level, and then we're going to look at it one way, and then see these Legos here, sir. Okay.
Yep.
What I'm going to do after that is I'm just going to lift the nose up by a little bit, and then put it on that Lego. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. It's a difference of maybe about 1 to maybe 2 degrees. Okay. So let me go ahead and show you this here. Now this was my discussion point. Now I'm going to go ahead and move this, and it's just kind of shooting probably about 2.5, 3 meters across the room here. Now you can see that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you'll see a little bit of reflection up towards the top there. That's because the Orbit Logitech Orbit camera that I'm using has a plastic shield over the front of it, and it gets reflections on the inside. Okay, so you'll excuse that. Has nothing to do with what I want to show you, though. Now, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on this laser level. Ugh, little door on it sucks. And we'll let it equalize. Now, I am not trying to show that my laser is perfectly level, nor am I trying to show that it's. Let me see if I can get my finger in the right place. Nor am I caring about the vertical line here. I just want to show one point here, okay? This here is the level, right, of what that laser pointer is showing. Now, I'm going to, let me angle my camera down just a little bit to keep that and the edge of the laser. Okay, now you can see the front of the this is my mock-up of your salad device, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Legos, that's all, like I said, and I'm going to lift this up and angle it upwards. Okay? Now you see that the laser went up. Okay, as in the green laser went up, but the laser level remained level to where it was before. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
This was my arguing point with you in the discussion of using a laser level like my Bosch here and like your DeWalt, using a laser level to level the laser, even though it's the same 2 words back and forth, that is the best you're going to get out of that. And this is what I also put in the video. the best you're going to get out of that is a consistent level above, let's say, the water or whatever surface you're shooting over. You're not going to get, you're not going to level the laser from that.
No, no, and that's why it's called initial leveling. The actual leveling is done at the reference location.
Okay, but you specifically stated to me that that was used to level the laser.
Yes, it's used to level the laser at the location.
But
And
but I'm
based
sure.
on the diameter of the width of the horizontal line, anybody with half a brain can see that it's not going to be very accurate.
Okay, but your arguing point was that the laser level was used to level the laser,
Correct.
and
Yeah.
and you see and you agree that that is not a functional way to do this because the laser could be vertical up and down by 2 or 3 degrees depending on the specifications of the laser level that you're using.
Well, no, no, no. No,
I'm
the
showing
laser.
you that though.
No, what you're showing me is that you're moving the laser and that the cross stays at the same position and the laser moves. And that's exactly what's supposed to happen.
Actually, I'm moving the salad device. Well, my mock-up of it, of course. What do you call it? I'm moving the salad vertically, pitching it up and down, whereas the laser level still remains in the same spot, but the point of the main laser can be a couple of degrees up or a couple of degrees down.
Yeah, and the trick is when you're lining the laser level up behind the laser itself, is that across the distance that you're able to measure there, that you get the same distance from the source of the laser and the horizontal line all the way across to where you can actually measure the maximum distance that you can get at that location. In our case, that was only about 4 or 5 meters.
Okay,
That's where
and yet y'all showed nothing about that.
no, because it's an irrelevant process. As
Leveling
I
the
said,
laser is an irrelevant process
I
when
leveled
measuring the
it
surface of the Earth.
no, I'm going to say it's an irrelevant process because as soon as I leveled it out with this process, the first thing that I did was pitch it up so that it doesn't hit the water. Because I know that it's highly inaccurate and it could be over a distance of 20 kilometers that it's pitching down already. So you cannot determine exact level with this device. That you need a larger distance for that, and going out on a boat and taking height measurements is very inaccurate itself too. You need a solid base to do that, and
Well, actually, well,
assuming that there is no convexity to the lake,
okay,
you can do that at the
but
other side of the
but
lake.
hold on a second, hold on a second. A second ago, you told me that you hit a target at the distant end on with your laser, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, seeing that the discussion is, and it even states so in on FECore's site and all this, was to basically to confirm or deny the curvature of the Earth, correct?
No. To confirm or deny the convexity given to us by the WGS 84
Okay.
mathematical construct.
Okay. Would you say that the 84 map is saying that the Earth is curved?
Yes.
Okay. So what you are doing is you are trying to find out whether or not that map is correct. So therefore, you are trying to see whether or not the Earth is curved or not.
No, we're trying to measure if the lake convexes according to that model, and it has nothing to do with the Earth. The
Okay.
Earth is a lot bigger than those two lakes that we're measuring.
Okay. Was it important in the hitting of the distant end target? Was it important to get the height of how high that laser hit that target?
Yes, of course.
Why was that important?
The height determines if you're level or not, consuming a non-convex surface or a convex.
Exactly. Now, if you did not properly level the laser, then you don't know what you ended up with other than a light hitting a target, correct?
No, no, no.
You just said that leveling the laser was kind of unimportant.
Yeah, no, it's not part of this research project. You know, we're trying to get a beam over across to the other side and measure at which height it hits the target.
Hold on a
So,
second.
and based if the laser is exactly parallel to the surface, or that it's actually tangent to the
But
water
but
surface.
you wouldn't know if it's parallel to the surface if you don't know what level you started with, correct?
Well, no, you do know because you can check what your source changes end up at your target location.
You watching
It's
my
like
you watching my
five.
screen right now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, hold on. If I have a laser here, okay, let's say this is your salad, right? And I have a target here, okay? Now, if I am just trying to hit this target could be up here and we can have it pointed here. This target could be down here. Obviously, it seems a little illogical, but have it pointed down there, etc. Basically, the one of the most important things in trying to find out exactly what it is you are reading here is not really a matter of did you hit the target. Okay, I mean a sniper would be happy about that, but the point is that if you don't know if this laser is level, then and you're trying to measure what the surface is like in between, if you don't know that this is level, then you could be up here, you could be down here, you could be damn near anywhere, and the only thing that you have done uh, is successfully hit a target. Correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so you ultimately you hit a target, and but because of a lack of leveling the laser, you don't really know what conclusion you can draw from that.
No. 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 Because you're leveling the laser at the reference location, and if your laser
But you
is
just
level,
said that was unimportant.
no, that's the target. That's the source location. The source location
Yes.
leveling is relatively unimportant because the actual leveling is done at the reference location. Because if you're not leveling your beam at the reference location, your GPS targeting system will not work.
Right, but your test is completely designed around finding out what the surface is between them. Therefore, you don't know if you're up or down, so all you've done is hit the target and not necessarily hit it
No,
at a level.
no, the level transit from reference to target location confirms that it's a level transit
How?
because it's not the laser at the target location, which is more distant, doesn't show up show an elevation in the source of the
Okay,
center of the beam.
okay, I'm going to kind of wind this together here for you. If you don't know what's going on here and you hit this target, then you have no clue other than hitting the target. You have no clue what you're getting here as a result other than hitting the target. That's the point I'm making to you.
No, no, that's not true because if we're basing ourselves on WGS or surveying elevation maps, we can determine how much we're above a level or water
Right.
surface
Well, I get
from one
that.
side to the other. So if we're 1.5 meters on the target, that's the same elevation across the level of the water from source to target, then you'll be level.
Okay.
There's no arguing that.
Let me demonstrate what I'm speaking to you because apparently you're not getting what I'm saying to you. Okay.
Probably.
Now I have a laser level and a laser here. Okay. My imitation salad device here. Okay. Now I'm going to lift this up ever so slightly because I don't have
You're
a.
still showing your PowerPoint
Oh, I'm
presentation.
my bad. My bad. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was still up front. do, 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 do. Okay. So sorry. So now I am back at this. Now what I'm going to do. This is going to be kind of fun to do. Okay. I think it might even be at this Lego height. No, that's a little bit too high. Well, I don't have other Legos out right now, so I'm just gonna have to kind of wing it with something else here. Okay, so let's see if this will work. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to dead on. Okay, now let's just say for argument's sake, that is dead on the level. Okay. Do you agree that the green line is on the red line, or the green dot is on the red line?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's say this is my target. Now, this right here, according to various discussions in physics, according to this, right now this dot is the exact same height as its emitter on this end. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that would be basically perfectly level. Now, if I didn't do this, okay, if I turn the laser level off and I didn't level it at all, okay, and then I hit the target, the distant target up here, okay, if I hit it there, I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see that. If I hit it there, then all I've confirmed is that I have hit the target, but it's not the same height as it was from the start, from the emitter location. Do you understand what I mean?
Yep.
Okay, that's the problem with what's going on here. You are saying that because the target was hit, it's at the same height as the laser, and I'm telling you that without leveling the laser properly, you have no clue. Because if you don't level the laser properly, then all you're getting out of it is that, and that's a hit on a target, and you have no idea if it's higher or lower or anything.
No, I disagree with that.
How could you possibly disagree with that?
No, because I just explained to you that we're
You explained to me that leveling the laser was irrelevant.
no,
And then therefore the height that the
to
laser
outcome of
hit,
the test. It's irrelevant to the outcome of the test because
that's what I'm saying. You said it's irrelevant to the outcome of the test, but if you don't know how high the laser is, then you don't know what you're hitting.
It's still part of the process. There's still leveling going on because you have to have a reference frame from which you can start.
Right, and that's what you start with, the leveling of the laser. That becomes your reference frame.
Yeah, and the leveling of the laser we do at the target or at the source location, and then we pitch it up so we make sure that the bottom of the beam is not colliding with the water surface, which would mess up the entire.
Well, yeah, obviously you want to avoid obstructions. Yes.
So and given that result, we can, based on the amount of steps that the motor takes, get a rough estimate, or it's not even a rough estimate, but you get a fairly good clue of how much degrees we're actually off the level, and then we find the target.
But you don't have the level.
No, we deliberately pitch it up so it's off level, and then.
If you're pitching it up, then you're not. If it's pitched down at the water, obviously you're off level.
Yes.
But if you are pitching it up, okay, just to avoid the water, that's not leveling it. That's avoiding an obstruction.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, but that's not leveling. That's just avoiding an obstruction.
Yeah, you want to get your entire beam across. You don't want to get your bottom half
totally agree with that. Totally agree. Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. However, you are trying to find out if the laser hit the target at the same height as the laser emitter is above the same surface, which in this case is the water. Correct?
Well, theoretically, you could still say that we're assuming that we're having the beam at the same height at the reference location, but we confirm that when we do a horizontal shift on, to the target location.
Horizontal shift? That has nothing to do with height.
Yes, of course, because if there's more drop between those two locations, then the result of that would be that there would be a difference in elevation of the target or the.
Yeah, but if you still wouldn't have that if you are not leveling your laser.
No, and that's exactly what we did,
But you just said you didn't.
Yeah, no, then you're not listening. I said we level the laser at the target, at the reference location, and then to confirm its level, we do a level transit on one axis and see if it rises in elevation or not.
Okay, Mike, do you see the laser on the screen right now?
I do.
You see the big green dot on that styrofoam plate I have on the other end of the room, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How do I get from that dot on that plate that it's the same height as the laser transmitter or the laser emitter? How do I get that result?
Well, you have to have a frame of reference from which you can, measure both elevations of source and target. And in our case, it's the water level.
Okay. And how did you confirm the water level between A and B?
Measuring it.
Measuring it.
Yeah, measuring the height of your laser above the water surface.
But you just said the only measurement that you're doing is at the target,
No.
and that's that. Um,
The target location is confirming that you've leveled your laser correctly or not.
but if you don't level the laser, you'll never know. Anyway,
No, that's not
so
true.
that's what you just said, man.
No,
Okay?
that's what you are trying to put words in my mouth.
I'm
But
not
I'm
putting
just
words in your mouth. Did you not say that leveling the laser at the emitter is irrelevant because you are doing your measurement at the reference or at the target?
no.
You
I
just
said
said that.
leveling your laser at the source location is irrelevant because the leveling is done at the reference location, and then the level is confirmed by the level transit on the horizontal axis. It's
Okay,
not that
so
difficult,
so
right?
so me hitting this plate tells me that I have a level laser right now.
No, no, that's a ridiculous analogy.
And
Come
that's
on.
what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's
Yes, it
not you're
is.
not nor you're not understanding what I'm saying to
I'm
you.
no, Mike, you need to understand something. I'm understanding precisely what you're saying.
No, you
Okay?
don't.
You are doing a
Sly.
measurement off the height of the water at the target, correct?
No, at the source. We're
At the
measuring at
source.
the source. That's our start location. We have a GPS location. That's our source where the laser is.
At the salad.
We measure what the height of the laser is above the water surface. Then we assume that there is no convexity to that water surface when we go across to the other side. Then we level the laser at the same height as the source,
So
and
you
then
adjust the
in theory,
vertical aim.
let me finish. And then in theory, you would have a level laser across a level surface. And to confirm that it's level, you pan the laser over to another location on one axis without adjusting it vertically. And if the surface is then not convex, the laser would be on the same level at the target location as it would at the reference location. It's not that difficult, Sly. It's
Yeah,
very
but
easy
you just
to
said you
understand.
adjust the laser after it's hitting the target. And I'm not talking about the horizontal thing that you were talking about. I understood that part. But you just said that after you hit your target, then you adjust the laser again.
Of course, if you're shooting a distance of 20 kilometers, you know, you would be eligible for a Nobel Prize if you would get your level completely straight from the source just by a leveling process. There's not a device that that I'm aware of that is capable of such precise leveling procedures, especially
Okay.
not with the second source.
Okay, Mike. Adjusting the laser's elevation. Okay, meaning its elevation angle. Obviously, not lifting the laser physically up, but adjusting the laser's elevation when it's already hitting the target at the distant end in a vertical fashion is actually working against that which you are trying to measure. If it's shooting over the target and you have leveled the laser properly at the source, then you will automatically know that the target itself is actually the physical sail is lower in that level reference is lower than where you started.
You
If
wish.
you have to vertically align the laser after it's already emitting, okay, you are not measuring something level. What you are doing is you are now vertically aiming at the target.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, want to move on to gyroscopes?
No, because you're still not getting it. You're
No,
trying to.
I just you just told me that everything that I just said was correct because I echoed exactly what you just said.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, you're
What did I not get correct?
there's a cynical tone to your voice that just
I'm
makes it
sorry.
clear to
Well,
me that
I
you
get
don't understand
frustrated
what
when
you're
no,
talking about.
Mike, I get frustrated when people try and tell me that I don't understand something when I actually do.
No, you obviously don't, because
Then why
there's a
did you
difference.
just agree with my analysis?
Because what you're saying is correct,
Thank
but you're
you.
not understanding what I'm trying to convey to you, and that's when you say you get frustrated. It's frustrating for me too.
I totally get that. You're trying to hit a target with a laser. I'm trying to level a laser to find out what the target is actually telling you.
Yeah, that's
Obviously, we're
if you're
trying for two
trying to
different goals
level a
here.
laser,
Obviously, we're
how would
trying
you
for two
level a
different goals.
laser if you're shooting a distance of 20 kilometers or 40 kilometers? Would you be precise, dead on? Considering that the fact that we hit the trees about 5 or 6 meters above the water level, it just
That
shows
should be
that the
telling you
initial
something.
analysis was pretty damn spot on.
That should be telling you something if you're hitting trees.
Yeah, if you pick your laser up before you go to the other side, then it's obviously going to hit something high up in the air, not rocket science.
Well, then I'll tell you what, Mike. For future laser tests, if at least if you want the majority of folks, I can, but I can only really speak for myself. If you want anybody to actually look at that as a legitimate test, then you need to level your laser at the source.
Well, let me just erase one of those dreams. Our audience is not here on YouTube. We couldn't care less what happens here.
That,
You know, we're
that well,
dealing with institutions and big corporations, and they do have a brain capacity to understand this.
okay. Well, I hope they're at least smart enough to know that they need to have a level laser to get any kind of measurement from it.
Yeah, they understand that leveling a laser is pretty damn pointless on
Uh,
a concrete
okay,
surface.
so on to gyroscopes.
Sure.
So, you have issues with my critique on your gyroscope.
Yeah,
Go
well,
ahead and
if
tell me.
somebody tells me that I need to rotate my z-axis in a specific direction to get more z-axis rotation, I just,
That
hard time not
that's
not laughing.
rotate your z-axis to get more z-axis
We,
rotation.
we,
Clarify
we
that,
needed
please.
to align our y-axis with the north, which means we have to rotate the z-axis to get the flywheel to point in a specific direction, which is an
Okay,
which is
hold
an
on.
insane statement.
Okay, now hold on a second. So this is your gyro, and these are the axes. I realize that it's a two axis gyro. I have the Y in there just to show the shaft of the gyroscope. Okay.
Now the y in our case is actually the pitch, so the x and y are
Right.
reversed.
So, okay. Well, we can arrange that.
Yeah,
But okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll just put Y here, and then X here. Okay.
sure.
So we're speaking the same language at least, because people do get confused when it comes to what orientation is being discussed. Everything except for the z-axis, of course.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is what we're talking about. So the z-axis is actually the gyroscope on the stand. The x-axis is the shaft of the flywheel itself, which is not really a discussion point at this moment. And the y-axis is the pitch, correct?
yeah.
Okay. So now let me go ahead and set something up for you here, and I want to show. I want to ask your opinion of it before I continue, okay? Because I do not want to misrepresent what's being spoken about, okay? Let's see here. Now I have one of these handy dandy super precision gyros, and now super precision is said awfully broadly. There are some inconsistencies in the gyro itself. I acknowledge that. The manufacturer acknowledges that. And what do you call it? In the
Yeah, I
gimbal.
know both Rick and Rob also on such a device.
Oh yeah, the device itself is great for faster motions and stuff like that. But for on the manufacturer's gimbal, it is worthless for measuring the rotation of the Earth. Okay. And what do you call it? Because it's got metal on metal points here. They sit here. This is a ball and socket type joint here. The bottom sits on a brass ring, and there's a plastic bushing between it. But I mean, it's a great gyro. Don't get me wrong, and it's quite well balanced, but not balanced enough for the sensitivity of measuring the rotation of the Earth on the manufacturer's gimbal. Correct? Is
Yeah.
that you would consider that a fair statement? Okay.
Yes.
Now, what I have here is I have a Dremel with a Lego wheel on the front of it. Okay, now all I'm going to do is I'm going to spin this gyro up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, by the way, it's got all axes of motion. Just wanted to show that. But let me go ahead and spin this up. I don't know what RPM this is going to be at. I'll just give it a rating of fast. Okay. Okay, so it's spun up. Now, would you agree? I gotta hold it together to do this. Okay, there we go. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this platform. This is just a disc of styrofoam with a pivot in the middle. Okay. Now, would you agree that this motion, it staying in place, is basically what your gyro is trying to detect?
Z-axis rotation, yes.
Okay, and only z-axis rotation, correct?
Well, there is some rigidity on the y-axis, but it's mainly built and designed to detect z-axis.
Okay, so this two-axle gyro that you guys custom built, and by the way, and I said this before, and I don't know if you ever caught it on one of my hangouts, but it's an absolutely gorgeous gyro, and all props to the guys who built the thing. Okay, now the problem is, if this is what you're trying to show, this is wrong. Okay, or this is wrong per what you guys have shown in your tests thus far. Okay, and this has also been a discussion point between you and I, because this gyro is, in this particular case, in the rotation of this disc, is polar aligned with the axis of rotation of the platform that it's on. Okay, the z-axis is polar aligned to this, meaning they are both pointing parallel to each other. Okay. Mm-hmm. This would be the way you would get that z-axis rotation. Now, if I were to turn this gyro, hold on a second, towards the outside of the ring, okay, and I have this handy dandy super high tech string so I can lean it back. All right, now let's go ahead and this would be identical if on a globe. Okay, this would be identical to the way that you have that gyro set up when you have the axle of the flywheel pointing due north. Okay, now, do you notice any large amounts of movement on the z-axis doing this?
No.
Okay. Now, the only thing that you will notice, now, like I said, the amount that I just turned that was probably about 6 hours. Okay, if we were to go by the angular rotation of the Earth. Now, what you will notice, let me go ahead and put this back up here, is now if we were looking down from the north, okay, as in this was the North Pole, like up here or something like that, and this was the whole globe, right, or the northern hemisphere. If we're looking down from the north, the Earth rotates, from west to east, right? So, which would put east this way and west that way if I was standing where this gyro is right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's it. I mean, that's all you're going to see. It is not even trying to rotate on the z-axis.
Sly, what does 15 times the sine of your latitude mean, and what's the requirement of your gyro for that formula to work?
Well, you see, the formula that you're quoting there was actually not for gyroscopes. That formula was quoted for Foucault's pendulum and where it would be set up on at any particular location.
No, it's incorrect. If you want to calculate your z-axis rotation on a gyroscope, use that formula.
Hold on a second here. I'll even show you. Foucault AULT pendulum. Hold on. See, because I looked up that nugget of information because I wanted to find out exactly, what could be predicted and what couldn't, because I looked around. Mm-hmm. Now, what I came across, control find sin. Where was it? Now this is a page about the Foucault pendulum. Now it does make one or two little small references to the gyroscope, but just in passing, nothing of any particular thing here. Now it was right around, where is it? Where'd it go?
So if I were to look up a manual for a gyroscope, the 15 times sine of the latitude would not be mentioned. Is that your point?
I don't have that manual in front of me. I'm just showing you here that as your references are continue to be about Foucault. Hold on a second here. Where was that? I saw it. Let's see. But rotates local vertical and effective at 2. No, that's 2 pi sin radians per day. No, that's something else. Where was that? I knew I should have screen captured it. Was it here? Let's see. It is. Well, nevertheless, I knew I should have screen captured it. I'm not going to read this whole damn thing. Oh, here it is. Let's see. When Foucault pendulum is suspended at the equator, the plane of oscillation remains fixed relative to the Earth. All other latitudes, the plane of oscillation precesses relative to the Earth, but more slowly than at the pole. The angular speed, which in this case is W, is measured in a clockwise degrees per sidereal day, is proportional to the sin of the latitude. Okay, you're discussing things that have to do with the actual with the pendulum. Now, if you have a reference in gyroscope, I'm 100% for listening to that. I really am. I have no problem with being shown something new that I didn't know. But that was the only place that I could really find that particular discussion. Now, you had quoted that as being reference to this and its what do you call it? And its
well, it's a formula works on gyroscopes too, and you can see that with our demonstration of the fiber optic gyroscope data, which Rick put on our channel. Now the calculated z-axis rotation for his latitude matched exactly what he caught on his z-axis. So no, the argument is not just for pendulums; it's the same formula that's used for calculating the rotation of your gyroscope.
Okay, then what do you call it? Now you said somebody produced did I hear you correctly? A gyroscope thing that actually showed that z-axis rotation?
Yes, it's on the FECore channel, and it's on. I think it's Rick's on Rick's channel and on Glowbuster's channel.
It's on the FECore channel.
Yes, it is. There is. I can link you the video if you want.
Okay, but would you agree, at least for the demonstration that I just gave you, that the z-axis rotation is pretty much not going to happen?
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay, because you know that basically your viewers are expecting you guys to produce a 15 degrees or not 15 degrees per hour rotation.
No, we state in the description what the expected of z-axis rotation should be, and we're showing that we're not detecting anything. And the reason I've heard you raise the issue that we should have produced friction tests first to show that the gyro is even capable of detecting those.
Well, yeah, that's an important thing. But
yeah,
but your comment in return to that was, or your comment on your own comment boards was, you'll do the friction test after you debunk Foucault.
Yes, because Foucault didn't have a clue as to how sensitive his gyroscope was. He had no reference.
And you guys have also made several claims that. Let me read one off to you. The purpose of these videos is to simply highlight that the custom-made 21st century gyro is magnitudes more advanced than what Focalt used after all the prior test modifications. It is glaringly obvious that the Focalt gyro could never in a million years detect consistent drift on any axis. Is that those are your words?
Yes, those are my words.
Okay, now I'm going to disagree with you.
Of course you do.
But I'm going to disagree with you by actually displaying why I'm disagreeing with you. Okay, these are the two pivot points for the Focalt gyro, and these are the two pivot points for your gyro, correct?
I think I've lost the screen.
You did?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, you got it now? Okay. So the knife edge pivot and the hanging string. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have ball bearings here and ball bearings here of various types you guys have tested, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, are you willing to say right now that something hanging from a string has more friction than a ball bearing? In maybe, let's say, a quarter turn.
Sorry, I didn't get that last bit.
The last bit, seeing that we're not going to be actually spinning this forever, as in, like a propeller or anything like that. Spinning the gimbals, you won't be spinning your large gyro. That's not the point of the device. Same thing with the Focalt gyro. We're not going to be, twisting that in, 20, 30 times, where in the case of the hanging string, the torque of the string would actually start to become a resistance. What I'm saying is, are you saying that your ball bearings here are superior in less friction than hanging from a string?
Yeah, I would be so bold to say yes.
I'm going to strongly disagree with you just based on the videos that you have produced and the times that you have actually moved that gyro. It didn't spin for very long. As in, on the z-axis, there was times where you're kind of moving it, and there was even at the end of one of your videos, you kind of bat it to the side, or whoever it was that was doing the video, excuse me, kind of batted the thing to the side just to show it moving, of course, which in itself is a proof that it's not locked down or anything. But it only turned like about 3 times. If I were to bat, a gyro hanging from a string, it would rotate far more times by that same bat.
Yeah, if the load is significantly less, then of course
I could put the same load on it and it would probably spin longer.
Yeah, probably. I'm not sure of that, but I'll give you that.
Okay, well the point is that number one, on that axis alone, the Focalt gyro, even though we don't have the actual gyro, we only have this mimic that's in that Paris museum. Hanging a gyroscope from a string has far less friction than having it standing on its ball bearings. Okay, that's the first point. Second point is the entire weight of the flywheel and the assembly holding the flywheel, the bracket that goes around the flywheel itself. I'm not talking about the black turbulence bracket. I'm talking about the actual metal bracket itself. That's on ball bearings, and the entire weight is sitting on those ball bearings. Now, while those ball bearings might be great, that's going, there is pressures involved there. Whereas the knife edge that is used on the Focalt one will have far less friction than all those ball bearings on that axle.
I'm not sure if I would agree with that.
I could demonstrate that. I don't have a demonstration in front of me on that, but I have racing ball bearings that I use for RC cars, and I would say that if I put this flywheel, the flywheel from yours, on ball bearings versus on a knife edge, the knife edge would turn easier. Because it's not like I said, we're not looking at spinning the thing, we're only looking at it getting an angle out of it. Right?
Yeah,
so in what way, other than possibly materials used and the balancing techniques that you guys have used, which Don't get me wrong, man. I'm sure that they were all great. In what way does that make your gyro, with the exception of an attachable motor, more superior than the Focalt gyro?
Well, that's easy. It's based on the technology used, and dynamically balanced flywheel to make sure that it's perfectly balanced
Okay,
compared to a crude balanced flywheel, which might create artificial precision.
okay. Now, what would
We have
be?
to determine if the device was actually sensitive enough, because there's no record of Focal actually doing sensitivity tests.
No, no. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with that. I couldn't find a single one. What do you call it? The but what would be the key factor? What would be the key portions of the entire assembly? The entire gyroscope assembly. What would be the key factors in telling whether or not it was balanced correctly or not?
And you mean the gyroscope? If the gyroscope was balanced?
Yeah. What would be the most important factors in finding out if that gyroscope is balanced or not? What would you be depending on to show you?
Well, the most important thing with the gyroscope is its rigidity in space. It needs to stay on one plane of rotation and not drift because it's in imbalance.
Okay. So you're saying that the movement of the axles is the most important part to show that rigidity in space, correct?
Movement of the axles.
The movement of the axes, the X and Y and Z. That would be what shows you that it's actually working correctly.
Well, for us to detect if it's able to detect the 11 degrees that we're supposed to measure at that location.
Well, no, no. Forget what you're expecting to measure. I'm just talking about the sensitivity of the gyro itself. Would the bearings, in your case, the bearings and obviously the balancing of the flywheel, but would the bearings be a key factor in telling whether or not your gyroscope is perfectly balanced or not?
I wouldn't think that the bearings themselves have anything to do with the balance. That's
Yeah, but
more
how would
the
you know if it's unbalanced? I guess is what I'm saying.
well, it's the what we noticed from when we thought it was imbalanced is that you're creating artificial drift, that your flywheel is tipping in one direction.
So it's moving.
It's moving, and that it's
Okay.
moving in
That
opposite directions based on spin rotation.
okay. So basically, uh, that was pretty much the answer I was getting to. Is so basically, what you are looking for is movement of the flywheel and movement of the gyroscope assembly itself to tell you if it's imbalanced or not. Correct?
Um,
That
you're
would be
looking
that would be the
for
first way to detect it, right?
you're looking for movement of your gyroscope. Your flywheel is supposed to stay rigid in space.
Right, and the only way that you would tell if it's rigid in space is if the axles that it's sitting on are working correctly, right?
Mm, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. If the detection thresholds are significantly low enough to detect the rotation which we're aiming to detect.
Okay. So having said that, motion being the most important part to finding out if your flywheel is balanced correctly, to find out if you're detecting anything, any kind of motion, whether you have it on a table or anything like that. Um, just to do testing to find out if it's got motion or not. The axles are the most important part, correct?
Yeah, you mean the rotation axis, the degrees of freedom axis that we're talking
Right,
about.
right, right. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's that.
as I just showed you, those degrees of motion, or what do you call it? Those motion areas on the Foucault pendulum. Forget about the flywheel itself being perfectly balanced. Like I said, that would actually come out pretty obvious in the test. But if you can machine, because lathes have existed forever, if you could machine a flywheel, put it on an axis, and use these two rotation methods, these two axes versus these two axes, this one will perform better. The string and the knife edge will perform better than the ball bearings, because the ball bearings, first of all, you're sitting the weight of the entire flywheel and upper assembly on the ball bearings. Now, ball bearings are great, don't get me wrong, but weight still plays a factor. And then these right here, the what do you call it, holding the flywheel bracket onto the assembly, these are also ball bearings. And those ball bearings, also have to deal with the weight. Now, and to get the bearings inside of them to turn. This right here, yes, it has to do with the weight, but it's just a pivot point. And then this right here is just basically hanging, and the only resistance you have is the torsion of the string itself. So
yeah, and the friction of the spike itself, the knife edge on the bottom.
Yeah, but that's a rolling friction, so it's basically, instead of 24 ball bearings or however many are in this ball bearing casing and stuff like that, you got one only doing a partial rotation, whereas these would be doing more than that. You have more points of contact. Okay, so the knife edge and the string are far superior to these ball bearings, regardless of how high of quality of engineering they are. So saying that you have a gyroscope, that the only thing that you can really get out of that by saying that it's far superior is the machining of the flywheel itself.
Well, to put that to the test, where you could simply lift the frame vertically off so that the load isn't entirely on the bottom bearing, and then
okay, and let's get to that, because you made that comment as well. You had made the statement that let me make sure I quote you correctly, because I surrounded my whole video on that last time. The mass of the flywheel creates an almost weightless suspension above the bottom, or on the bottom bearings. So far, friction tests are looking good, but we need to add lasers. Okay, well, that was just about doing lasers. But your words were, the mass of the flywheel creates an almost weightless suspension on the bottom bearings.
Yeah, I will concede that it's probably a poor choice of words and grossly out of context with what I was actually trying to bring across.
I accept that. Because what you had showed in your example, because you had actually linked a video that was, I think it was back in the 60s or something like that, and it is a great point in physics about precession, but the point actually moots itself, because this right here, both of your axes are attached to the assembly. Both ends of the axle of the flywheel are attached to the assembly. So that when it's turning in one direction, while it may appear lighter on one side, it's pushing down that equal amount back down on the other side. So therefore, the weight of the device itself doesn't change.
That's true. The weight doesn't change, but
right.
When I was making that comment, it was in passing while I was dealing with 15 or 16 other comments, and we were currently doing tests with the device, and when we were locking the y-axis, we came across this phenomena of that,
Mm-hmm.
that there is a transfer of forces from one axis to the other, and as soon as you
right. Well, it's actually a rotation of forces, and what do you call it? And you saw it you've probably seen it in probably about 1 million videos. Science teachers showing how the precession works and all this, where one end of the gyroscope is actually suspended in the air, almost unbelievably suspended in the air, where the other end is tied to a string up to whatever, the ceiling or whatever, and all this. And that's because this end, due to precession, is actually being pulled up or being moved up, but the other end is being moved down in an equal amount, in this rotation. So
yeah.
So we can pretty much moot the fact that any thought of it losing weight on the bearings is not going to happen.
No, it's not losing weight.
Okay.
It's I will concede to that.
Now I have one last question. Now, me personally, this is a question for me here, because I am all, like I said, I'm all about experiments, and I love to see how people come up with stuff. Now, this is probably a poor screen capture for me to use for this example, because I don't know how many people can see this or how well they can see it. But you have this stepper motor assembly, okay,
Hmm.
which is greatly gear reduced and all this. I've read the various, I've highlighted some of the things that you guys have said about it, but basically it's about reducing the speed of this belt going around to an attachment you have on the z-axis. Now, I am curious as to why you reference this as a friction test.
Well, in our friction slash detection test, we're trying to forcefully rotate the gyro on the z-axis and see what it's capable of detecting. And
Okay.
these tests were done without the motor because the original design that Stefan made for this gyro was without motor.
Right.
The run times that we get are about 17, 18 minutes of pretty good rigidity in space.
Mm-hmm.
And the rotation time is just too short to do any substantial or accurate measuring on very very slow rotations. We started with 100 degrees an hour, and that was perfect. 50 degrees, the same story. 25, exactly the same, and then 22, it became a little ambiguous, and then we decided to attach lasers to it to see if we could go lower and see if it was consistent in both directions.
Okay.
But the runtime of the flywheel is just not long enough to make any substantial measurements that everybody would be happy with, showing that the device is capable of detecting that. So that's when Stefan decided to attach the motor to it. But unfortunately, with motor, it's not reacting as well as without.
Okay.
So there are some other possibilities that we're going to try, like an evacuated area around the flywheel to remove any and all turbulence, so it doesn't have
Yeah, I
any.
caught that with those shields that you put on there. That was pretty clever.
The shields is just to cover it from outside turbulence, but it's still that there's still air turbulence within the frame itself. It's not an evacuated cover.
Okay. Now, I do have a question. You guys, now, you don't have to answer this question, but I just thought I'd ask. How much did that whole assembly there, all the machining and stuff like that, how much did all that cost you?
I don't know. You have to ask Stefan. He paid
Okay.
for it with his own money.
I mean, it's kind of unimportant, but I guess the number value was not as important as me asking if
Well,
you were. Well,
I know where you're getting at, but the amount of FECore money in this
no, no,
gyroscope
no.
is.
That's not where I was going at all. That's not where I was going at all.
Oh, okay.
You've already given your answers to that, and we're not going to go back into that. The what do you call it? The question that I had is, now this particular test that you're showing on the screen here is actually, you could say it's actually it's kind of limiting it to testing only one axis. Okay, even though you're moving the other axis at a predicted speed, and all this, you're testing really only one axis. Okay, and that's the axis. Let me make sure I get my wording correctly. That's testing the y-axis. Okay, as in how much does it process up and down? Correct?
No.
Because you're not testing this axis because you're actually manipulating it with the stepper motors.
Yeah. We're rotating the gyro and the.
Right. So the only thing that you could actually be testing here is the y-axis.
No.
Is there
No.
another axis I don't know about?
No. We spin up the flywheel,
Yeah.
and it's rigid in space, and
Not
then you rotate the gyro underneath the assembly, and
okay.
then the
But you
flywheel's
but you're
in space.
rotate you're rotating I mean you are manually, or excuse me, mechanically rotating the z-axis, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not actually testing the z-axis, you're actually moving the z-axis to see what the y-axis does, correct?
No, we're rotating the base of the gyro independent of the gyro itself.
So you're saying that the rotation here that's occurring, now this is a clarification question, this isn't me stuffing anything in your face here. You're saying that this rotation here that you are doing right here on the bottom is actually independent of the device itself.
Correct.
So there's no affixing or anything like that of the device itself.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Not I by the appearance of the device, one could easily come to the determination that you are actually mechanically rotating the bottom of the device, as in the bottom of the z-axis of the gyro. And
No,
if
no.
okay,
If
cool.
we did that, then we'd not. Then yes, the flywheel would tip over.
Totally get you. Okay, and like I said, that was a misunderstanding. That's why I had to ask that, because I wasn't sure why there wasn't a platform test being done because this right here looked like it was actually rotating the bottom half of the gyro.
No,
Okay,
no.
and I'm perfectly cool with that answer. So that is independent. Cool. Um, Now the reason why I asked you about money, and like I said, I don't really care to know the dollar value or whatever value, whatever the currency was. The question I have is, if the intent is to discuss the rotation of the Earth, then why did you build a gyro that people will have to depend on certain levels of mathematics to know how much it's actually supposed to move and process if it's done vertically from the ground?
Well, that's an easy answer. Stefan came to us with this gyro design with the question if he should build it for us so we could perform tests with it. And I specifically remember my advice to him that it looks far more easy than is in reality to build a 25 kilo or 15 kilo gyroscope, 25 pounds almost.
Right.
It's going to be a challenge, and I saw his design and it was basic, and as you can see, the design is pretty basic,
Well,
but
I agree with you there.
the the the, um, the testing itself it's valuable for us because we wanted to build a big mechanical gyroscope ourselves, and this basically is a prototype from which we can learn valuable information into and turn that into a far better and superior design, which actually has the ability to rotate for extended periods of time instead of 20 minutes.
Okay, so I guess the reason why I was asking this is because just on a financial sense, not really on the sense of where did all the money come from and all that other stuff. Like I said, I'm not going there with this, but even from a financial standpoint, why did you guys not decide on building a one axis gyroscope that you could tilt to your latitude?
Um, I guess Stefan's initial
Because this has
uh,
more points of failure doing it this way.
well, and I think Stefan's initial goal with his gyroscope was to create a larger replica of what Focal had, and Focal also had a 2 degrees of freedom mechanical
Right,
gyro.
but can you agree that even in by design, except for the fact that the only thing that it has two axes of motion, or freedom, excuse me, the design is in no way the same as the design
No,
from Focalt.
not even close. No.
Okay, so I have to return to my original question. Why didn't if the intent was to discredit or at least disprove
Well,
Focalt's design, then why didn't they rebuild Focalt's?
Stefan is an electrical engineer with no experience in mechanical gyroscope, and the reason he was interested in building one it was because he watched videos from Rob Durham and from Rick Zimmerman, and he was just curious what it would what it would take to get a gyroscope to process with earth rate precision. And he thought there are lots of industrial gyroscopes and just off the shelf gyroscopes that you can buy, but those are not. Um,
Most of them suck.
yeah, even the industrial ones do not pick up z-axis rotation, and
Okay.
I think Rick Zimmerman has tested basically I think almost all of them, and the detection thresholds are 45 to 30 degrees, and then then it just stops.
Right.
Stefan thought, why don't I try it myself? And even with this basic design, I think he did a pretty good job. Considering the fact that it's all his work, except for the balancing.
Oh, like I said, it is a beautiful gyro. Don't get me wrong, man, and don't ever let anybody say that I said anything different. The gyro and the craftsmanship and the workmanship is beautiful. I mean, I really do like it, and I'm a little bit envious that he has it. What do you call it? But it just seems to me in the discussion of it, there's two discussions, and the first discussion is debunking or disproving whatever discredit FECore. If you wanted to do that, you would actually build a replica of FECORE's gyro. If this was about the rotation of the Earth, which FECore website states, along with the FECORE bit, the then it seems to me that you would actually have built a gyro that you can lean to your latitude and have a single axis, which would be far easier in engineering.
I agree, and that's the reason why we've decided to build another one. And I've 2 weeks ago I found a very nice corporation here in the Netherlands willing to manufacture it for us free of cost.
Okay.
All we have to do is provide them with the materials that we want to use and the drawings to actually have it manufactured.
Well, that sounds
So
cool.
that's going to be probably during the end of this year that we're going to start with it, because we're still busy with the 3D design.
Right.
This gyroscope has taught us a lot of valuable information. The next flywheel, for example, is going to be made of two different materials to create the larger kinetic energy, so it can spin up at higher RPMs. We're probably going to aim it somewhere around between 20 and 30,000 RPM gyroscope with a fixed motor.
Right.
The flywheel is going to be designed around the motor itself, and it's also probably going to be in the center of the flywheel itself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good stuff, man, and we're not trying to how do you say that, con anyone or trying to mislead anyone.
Okay. Now,
We're just doing tests and we're reporting on what we're finding, and sure, there are people that have critiques, and if there is legitimate commentary, then I'm more than willing to address that. But as soon as I hear people smirking and laughing and calling me bitch and fraud, and that's when I start to take offense. And
well, welcome to the club, man. The what do you call it?
and that's one of the reasons why I don't spend that much time on YouTube. The reason I came across your videos was because I listen to YouTube a lot, and there's autoplay function, and it puts your videos in the recommended feed. So sometimes they come across my ears, and then I find you, and
I find it interesting that they would put me up because what do you call it? I am my videos. My videos show up in the same algorithms of YouTube getting rid of discussions of whatever they consider to be science or not science. I find that kind of interesting that somebody would that my stuff would come up in anybody's recommended feed, because I am technically, given the subject matter, a flat Earth channel as far as the algorithms go. Obviously, I'm not a flat earther, but what do you call it? Because my subject matter.
in relation to FECore videos, the gyro has nothing to do with flat Earth.
No. Well, that's debatable. And the reason why I say that's debatable is because you discuss it, at least on well, I've seen it on the.
It's a point of contention within the flat Earth community, but the gyro itself proves absolutely nothing.
Interesting. But what do you call it? Now, this is what I was talking about the simplicity of doing a single axis gyro. Now, I built this out of Legos, and a couple of magnets and a 3D printer at a cost of probably about $12. Well, minus the gyro. The gyro was a little more expensive. Now, I haven't narrowed down the perfection of this part yet, but the this right here is a gyroscope that is levitating above its above its frame. In other words, this is not touching anything, that's not touching anything. The only contact that this gyro has to this entire frame is that it's pushing off of a sewing needle that is touching a piece of metal down here at the bottom. Okay, that's the only contact that this has. Now, obviously, you can see that thing is not very well balanced. That's something that has to be worked out, but it's just kind of doing its own thing right there, made with Legos. Now, this is why I'm wondering why money was spent on a gyroscope to discuss the rotation of the Earth, and also to discuss the rotation of the Earth that can't be polar aligned.
Well,
This right here, actually, as a matter of fact, as it's standing here right now, I have this aligned at 50 degrees, which is where I am. And
Sly,
huh,
Sly, with regards to money, it's Stefan's own business to which he spends his own money.
oh, I'm just saying, it's not cost effective to make a device to measure the rotation of the Earth if you can't align it with the axis of
Well,
rotation.
that's a lesson that he's learned now. As I said, Stefan is an electrical engineer with no experience in mechanical gyroscopes. Now he has.
I'm a networking guy with a commercial art degree. Okay, I'm not exactly a master at this stuff either. But knowing what it is that I want to build, and building it to at least attempt to perform that action, yeah, that's kind of in the planning phase.
Yeah, there's a million good ideas, and then there's reality.
Mm-hmm.
You can start off with a design that looks good on paper, but then when you try to manufacture it, it actually offers more problems than solutions.
Okay, well,
That's
I was just curious as to why that design was chosen, instead of, like I said, it could be even more cost effective to do a single axis gyro that you can align, that you can polar align to test whether or not that's even a thing. You know.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate, maybe, that this gyro is not capable of being polar aligned. But it's not. It was not built for that intent. It was built for a level on three axis and testing.
Now,
You know?
here's another neat little thing, and I just want to reflect on this. Now, obviously, this is not the same weight as your gyro. This is not the same as your gyro. But like I said, as I showed you a second ago, and the way it's sitting right now, this end is slightly off balance, meaning this end is seems to be heavier than this end of the gyroscope. Okay, this is also a discussion I had with the manufacturer. It has to do with that screw in the end there versus that screw, and plus on this end there are 3 holes drilled in it, where on this end there's only 1 hole drilled on it. So the what do you call it? This end of the gyro is actually a lot heavier. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I want to show you this. I'm going to spin this up. Now, I hope you can agree with me that this thing is greatly reduced in friction, even compared to y'all's device, okay? Now, this is what I want to show you, okay? I think I just came off center here. I think I did. Now, what I'm going to do, this is not perfectly polar aligned at the moment. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this thing like this for a second, okay? I'm holding it with that one corner upwards. Now, if this were rigid in space, and like I said, I have, what do you call it? I'm going to be so bold as to say that my gyro has far less friction than yours, okay? Now, I'm going to let it go. Which direction it's going to go? It's going to go to that heavier end. That's how little influence a gyroscope needs. Now, hold on a second. It just swung all the way past it, and now it's swinging back. That's how little influence it needs. Okay, and I think the axle just moved that 0.5 millimeter inside of the bearing. That's how little influence is needed to send a gyroscope either to a wrong direction or to make it fall to a specific direction. Do you agree with what I'm showing you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have. Oh, now I can see it. I can actually see in the camera that my thing is a little bit low. There it is.
I'm going to take a quick smoke break, Sly. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool.
You keep your audience happy, and I'll be right back. I
Uh,
just can't wait anymore. It's the nicotine rush, you know.
well, you know what? I'm gonna agree with you, and we'll meet back here in about 3 minutes. Okay, or about 5 minutes. So if you still see this thing up on the screen, that means I'm not back yet.
Okay.
So I'm gonna hit mute here, guys, and we'll be back in 5.
And if you
Okay.
don't mind,
Okay,
I would
we're
like
both
to
back. We're
continue.
both back in both live video or live audio.
Okay, but I would like to say that I would like to continue for maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then I'm going to end it.
Sure, no problem. I totally agree with you because it's it's getting close to 10 o'clock. So,
Sure.
and I'm pretty sure that you have to work in the morning. So do I.
Yes.
So I'll tell you what. Just so nobody, because people love to talk about this, and I'm sure you've seen it on your side as well. Just so we can't say that anybody rage quit or ran away from a discussion or anything like that. We'll just leave this at 20 and we'll start her down, okay?
Sure.
Cool. All right. So, now something I was thinking about out there when I was having a cigarette. Number one, I would like to say that although you and I, we differ on some opinions and stuff. What do you call it? And we differ on maybe our approach angle to the entire discussion. I would like to say that I've enjoyed this discussion. Um, I enjoy kind of hashing out thoughts and like I said, both of us have gotten a little bit frustrated on one or two points and stuff, but uh, I would like to think that you were not treated in any way unfairly here or anything like that. Um, and this is the kind of discussion I enjoy. Two people. I mean, we're just two dudes who are trying to work some stuff out. And what do you call it? And this is the way I like to conduct things. I mean, uh, there have been tons of flat earthers to include folks who are on your board who have tried to defame me and tried to have put words in my mouth and on various points, and we don't need to go into all of them because they're not really directly related to FECore. But I just wanted to say that um, what you and I are doing right now, is a far more constructive way to have this discussion. Would you agree or would you not agree?
I would agree with that, and that I will have to thank you for being so courteous and decent.
Well,
To be honest, I didn't expect that to happen. I had very low expectations of how this would end up eventually, but
mm,
I must say that
well, I can't
I'm
say that's unwarranted.
no, that you cannot agree or disagree with me that the stuff being said about us and me on your channel has not been very constructive.
Well, I do agree with that. And let me defend one thing, and it's not really a specific point. Okay, it's actually a general principle. Now I saw that you had commented twice below your gyro tests that you were deleting comments because I mean I'm sure there's been a couple of assholes who've come to your channel and said various things, and you know what, I delete assholes from my channel too. Okay, I'm not above that because I don't find that unless I could just get them with a simple thanks for supporting the globe and they never come back. Um, but I personally I don't support the whole just running around calling people assholes and calling people names and all this other stuff. I don't support that, and I even made that point to you in the in our comment thread. Because I had reacted to the fact that you had created a misspelling to Sean's name, and I understand you got a beef with Sean, and what do you call it? And you guys are going to have that out one of these days. But the other side of it, or not, I mean that nobody's forcing anybody. But I don't get into all the name calling, and I don't do all that. Now, some people don't like what I have to say, but when when I actually make a comment and then that comment gets deleted or removed or hidden and stuff, um, first of all, that usually prompts me to make a video about the point that I was making, because I'm trying to communicate to the person making whatever claim it is, And when you get blocked or you get muted, and it seems like a lot of, should I say, a lot of flat Earth channels. I could name you a list, but they're irrelevant at this moment. Um, of people who they only let through, at least in a majority sense, they only let through the comments that support them, to give this mystery or this false sense of everything I'm saying is right. Look how many people agree with me.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I had a problem with getting muted on the FECore channel, because you guys are actually doing experiments, which to me puts you far above in many ways, shapes, and forms. Above the people who just kind of mirror somebody else's work, or just come in with saying, oh, everything's CGI, without actually showing any work to show something, or whatever the subject is. What do you call it? I enjoy talking to the people who are doing the work. And what do you call it? And like I said, even if the discussion gets a little bit spirited, I enjoy having that discussion. And to get muted for wanting to have that discussion, to me is, as I think you would consider it as well. It's insulting, and it says volumes of the person who actually, yanked you off of their channel. Now, you personally, to the best of my knowledge at least, you personally did not yank me off of your channel. Okay, I was muted during that board of directors video. I was muted on y'all's channel, to the best of my knowledge, by Bob. So, like I said, I do not hold you personally responsible for that, nor have I made said accusations. But I have said that I'm muted on FECore's channel. Now, whether that has changed or not since our discussions, I don't know.
No, and then that's it. I spend very little time on YouTube
Mm-hmm.
because I consider YouTube to be the ass end of society, because the stuff being said there without any remorse or taking responsibility for your words is beyond insane. If we look what happened to Patricia Steer, for example, that's a good example of the amount of depravity that you find on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any control, or at least I do have control of the channel, but I don't know who is muted. I actually don't know how to mute people, but apart
Oh,
from that, the board of directors meeting, um, which is maybe something that we can address also. That was specifically made because there was a video going around about us committing supposedly fraud, by having the section of members on our articles of incorporation checked as no members.
hmm.
And that spewed an enormous amount of disinformation and slandering about us.
Well, I'm going to personally say that I have never gone that deep into FECore to even know, and I'll say that
No,
publicly here to you.
I think that you did made a reference to it in your first gyro video when you were going through our website, and you mentioned a debacle with the IRS with regards to our member
Okay,
base.
now you stated something about that, and I had asked you to cite me on that, because the only reference that I found to even the word debacle had nothing to do with the IRS, and it wasn't even. I don't even recall that it was me that said it. What do you call it? Because
I could be wrong, I didn't check for the video. I just remembered it from the top of my head that there was some mention about something we've had with the IRS, and it was in reference to
okay,
our member.
well, like I said, me personally, uh, and I will say this over and over again, as far as the dealings that you guys do, as far as the actual behind the scenes operation of FECore, um,
Well, if you
I have neither
go
researched it
downstairs,
nor
if
that.
you go down the slide, then I would like to present, because I know Sean is watching. I would like to present our articles of incorporation
Sure.
and show you guys our budget, which has been deposited with the IRS. So it's not like
If
it's.
you're willing to display that, I'll gladly put it up on the screen.
How do you do that with Hangouts?
Okay, now let me stop mine first. Okay, at the top right, you're on a computer, right?
Yeah, I'm a PC.
Okay, I just want to make sure you weren't on a mobile device because it's different. Um, if you move your mouse around the call screen where you and I are actually talking,
Mm-hmm.
okay, uh, up in the top right, you'll see
Oh yeah, I
three
got it.
dots,
Yeah, I
and
got
then
it.
hit share screen.
Yes, got it. Okay. Are you seeing my screen?
I'm seeing the Hangout. There we go. Okay, good.
Okay. Let me make it a bit smaller so everybody. This is our certificate of incorporation, where it says that the state of Indiana, the Office of the Secretary of State, Certificate of Incorporation of FECore Incorporated, the name of the Secretary of State, and that we're incorporated as a domestic nonprofit corporation, and that has been presented at her office, accompanied by the fees prescribed by law, and the documentation presented conform to the law prescribed by the provisions of the Indiana Nonprofit Corporation Act. It's signed on December 7th, 17, which makes us a nonprofit incorporation. It doesn't make us a 501c3 because you have to apply for tax exemption for that.
Okay.
If you, this is our budget. Before I go through that, here's the same document. This is, this document is the 1023 application, which we've submitted to the IRS on March 22nd of this year.
Okay.
We received a confirmation letter from the IRS in the first week of May, which puts us in the timeline of now getting our approval or denial,
Mm-hmm.
based on a time period roughly estimated to at 90 days.
Similar to a patent pending. You've applied, it just hasn't been
Yeah,
solidified. Right.
yeah, I know. And the founding of the corporation, and with the Article 2 statement of purpose clearly states that we're founded with the intent of becoming a 501c3 charitable scientific research organization under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code.
Can you do me a favor for just the folks that I have watching on that Article 2? Is there a chance you could zoom into that?
Yeah, I can make it bigger.
Because if I get a complaint a lot of times, it's because I put text up on the screen that nobody can read.
There you go.
I get yelled at for that all the time.
Now, the purpose for which the corporation is formed are specific languages required by the IRS in this article. In order to be approved for 501c3 status, contact the IRS for assistance. A. FECore is an FECore Inc. is organized for exclusively religious, charitable, educational, and scientific purposes. Now, before everybody gets high on their heels,
No,
it's
that's
not.
it's a canned statement. I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
we're not religious, charitable, educational, and scientific all at once. It's either one of those or some of those, or
And
all at once.
let me also, like I said, let me echo that to everybody who's watching. Government documents are canned, meaning that all they do is they fill in a name to whatever's there, and that's a coverall statement for nonprofits who are religious or nonprofits who are charitable or education and scientific and stuff like that. That's just showing that they have covered all the bases in that particular comment.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
It's also saying that the organization will conduct scientific research on geological earth sciences and provide educational programs to the public. That's our statement of purpose,
Right.
which we submitted to the IRS. Now there's a codes that or rules that we have to abide to, of course. And then here's the section membership. Indicate if the corporation will have members, and it states no members. Now this is where a lot of people got confused back in the time of the board of directors live stream,
Hmm.
because we do have members, but those are members of the foundation. Those are not members of the corporation.
Right.
Members of the corporation are part of the governing body, and they get to decide or vote on the board of directors. And we don't have that. We just have directors in the corporation, no members.
Okay. Now, can you do me one quick favor? Can you scroll
Sure.
back up to Article 2, the last bullet in Article 2, bullet C there? No,
Yeah.
no substantial part of the activity. I was going to read it, but go ahead and read it.
No substantial part of the activities of the corporation shall be carrying on propaganda or otherwise attempting to influence legislation, and the organization shall not participate or intervene in, including the publication or distribution of statements, any political campaign on behalf of any candidate for public office.
Okay, cool. Because what do you call it? One of the well, doing the Lake Balaton. I hope I said that right. The laser tests. Now, that is going against the USGS survey, correct? Or
Um,
USGS. I'm sorry, USJS. I'm sorry. So what do you call it? That's well, what I'm warning you. I guess what I'm giving you is kind of a warning that you want to make sure that the things that you are contesting, while they may be for educational purposes, might be seen as something that's actually aimed at um, influencing the government. You know, in this case, U.S. Geological Survey, or in some cases NASA, various other. You know, I mean,
no,
they're blanket topics, but
that now that we're very aware of those restrictions, and the only thing that we do is research and publish our results. There is nothing propaganda wise attached to that purpose, and we're also not trying to influence legislation, and we're also not participating in any political activity
okay.
by
Well, no,
doing this
political. I
research
got you on that. Political, you're
results.
100% right. What do you call it? Influence legislation. That might be a discussion point only because of the fact of what do you call it? Um, the actual organizations that provide the information that you are contesting might, that would actually influence legislation on their legitimacy. You understand?
um
You understand what I mean?
no, no, no. Yeah, I see what you mean, but I don't see the connection there with us doing research and publishing results. That's not deliberately trying to influence legislation. It's then we would have to actively pursue that the legislation is changed um,
No,
in this
no, no.
respect.
I'm just, I'm just giving a blanket statement. That's all, because it
Mhm.
can be perceived as that.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? Okay, so
Yes.
continue on.
Well, that's basically our.
Now, don't show me any signatures you don't want public or anything like that.
Well, the Rick is the agent of the corporation because I'm
That's
a
true. The
Dutch
document would be
national.
public anyway. Yeah. Okay.
I'm a Dutch national, and I cannot found a U.S. corporation, so I had my
Right.
friend Rick do it for me.
Okay.
And above here is our budget for 2017, and our proposed budgets for 19 and 20.
Mm-hmm.
Let me zoom out a bit so everybody can see. This is basically the income and the revenue. Now, the first year when we started, we had a good start for the, the small amount of weeks that we were actually an official entity. And you see, in 2018, we did a lot better. We got a lot of gifts in kind, so to speak, and most of this is asset value. It's not really physical money that came into our accounts. It's I'd say 75% of this amount is actually hardware that was donated to us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Now, can
uh,
can you put donated hardware on a financial statement of expenses, or am I reading that wrong?
well, I'm not a financial expert, so no, I basically filled out these numbers in cooperation with the accountants of the foundation group. They put it in the right columns.
Mm-hmm.
There is here, for example, you have the individual and small business contributions. And you see here in 2018 that we've got the individual and those contributions at an amount of $15,000, which is I'd say about $14,000 worth of equipment that we got, and an actual donation of $1,000 from a particular individual.
Okay.
Um,
Must be
These are these
nice.
are these are the expenses that we've had. You know, the first year we didn't have much expenses because we didn't actually do anything apart from some administrative stuff to get the corporation going. And the next year, obviously, we had a lot of logistics stuff that we needed to pay for. The website is obviously not free. Getting the 501c3 registration requires a lot of how do you say that, administrative professionals to go over what you've put on paper so that it's correct and good for presenting to the IRS.
Hmm.
And here are the actual amounts of money that we've paid to ourselves.
Oh, whoa, whoa. Sorry, hold on. Sorry, that was the end of that 20-minute alarm.
So, and you see that none of the money that has came in has actually went back to any of the directors or people within FECore. I would even go as far to say that a substantial amount of the expenses that we have on this side is mostly coming out of my own pocket. I've spent, I think, over 20,000 US dollars on this corporation myself, my own money.
Hmm.
So the arguments being made that I'm doing this for profit or that I'm taking money out of the corporation is an incorrect and false and defamatory statement.
Okay, well let me go ahead and sum this up, because I mean you've been far more forthcoming than I'm sure anybody would have anticipated, and I thank you for that. Now here's what I would like to sum up at least from my side. Okay, like I said, I'm satisfied that you have showed this documentation. I'm sure that it could be open for scrutiny, but I mean that's if somebody wants to go through all that trouble.
All this
Uh,
is what we've submitted to the IRS.
oh yeah, no,
It's
no,
now.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And like I said, I'm not saying that you're showing me some kind of preparatory work or anything like that. This is what you submitted, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. Now, but let me bring this just for a moment, just at least on my side in closing, because we're now past 10 o'clock. It's 10:20 right now.
Mhm.
Let me go ahead and stop sharing your screen there, or actually, you have to stop sharing it. This is a call. All right, and let me go ahead and just put this into loop mode, transition. Okay, so the screens are no longer being seen. The my this is a request that I have of you, President of FECore. Um, One of the problems that we have, and this has been spotlighted a couple of times in this discussion, one of the problems that exists is that, and I have been very critical about this, and it's just it's my opinion. Um, the results of see when I hear test, right, I'm all eyes and I'm all ears. Okay. When I hear that somebody's testing something, you're still. Oh wait, no, you're not sharing the screen anymore. It's just frozen there. Okay. What do you call it? The When I hear test, then I hear, all right, let's see what somebody's got going on. Okay. Let's see the methodology. Let's see what the results were. Let's see what somebody, the equipment that somebody's using. I mean, as you put it on that one video, that's porn for me. Okay. I love that stuff.
Mhm.
But if you could do me a favor for your future tests, okay, since a large amount of at least attention that you guys are getting comes from YouTube and fellow YouTubers. What do you call it? All of your board. Well, as far as I'm aware, all of your board members have their own channels. And they're all content creators. Um, this is what I want to request because this is actually a point that kind of gets me hung up sometimes. You had presented to me a couple of times here that there are results that people have not yet seen, um, and I mean I'm cool with that, I guess. but I think the problem is that when, let's say, for the laser experiment tests, okay, um, the the content or the result of the laser experiment tests was a PDF, okay, and
Mhm.
which was published on FECore site, and and yet, as you specifically stated, some of the results, actually some of the more pivotal results, like hitting the target with the laser and all this other stuff, were not part of that PDF. I understand that might have happened at different times, okay, but to me, when if I'm going to make a publication out to the public of what my either results of a test were, or at least, this is these are the pre-tests, and this is what we're doing, and this is how we did it, and all this, open to scrutiny, of course, by like-minded or other engineering folks. um, I would like to request of you, president of FECore, that in the future, if you are going to put out documentation, or if you're even going to put out video material, um, discussing the results of your tests, that you honestly, I mean, yes, you have the members, they receive bits of things that the public doesn't get, and I'm cool with that. But if you are going to release a document to the public, that it actually contain the results, not just in word, but we live in a multimedia world right now. So the results in photograph, the results in video, if possible, because that's
I will agree to that. The laser test was the first thing that we set up within FE Core, and of course we did our best to compile it into a well written document. We also set out, or at least we stated on a couple occasions, that it was going to be accompanied by a video.
mm,
And,
yeah, because the part that was messing with me is, and I'm going to be critical here, and I'm sorry if this is going to sound insulting, but as highly anticipated as those laser tests were, and um, the amount of people who were pretty much waiting on the results and stuff like that, I have to say that that PDF was very poor in documenting the results. There was a lot of great information in there, but most of the people were wanting to see, the point to point laser test. The majority of folks. Now, I understand there's a lot of data porn in there, but the majority of folks were waiting to see the point to point laser test, and that was not published in that document.
correct.
And so it's just my request to you that, because some of the tests that you guys are going to be doing, the Aries failure redo, and this radio test, um, they are going to be highly dependent on people understanding the information that's being given to them. Okay, I
Yeah,
come
well,
I I come from I come
the
from
microwave test, that we're going to try and get the connection established, and as soon as we have the connection established, then we'll automatically switch on YouTube and present it live to everyone for everyone to see, because it's going to be a world record, and there and then certified and all. So that I agree with you that the documentation of the laser test itself was inadequate with what you would basically expect from us. Um, um, we've encountered a lot of I would say issues with you know getting the document or the video at least in proper form published, and we're also waiting for our 501c3 registration to actually come through before we actually start pushing out.
And one last question on the laser test, because there was Lake Peloton tests, and then there were the tests in the Netherlands, and all this. Now, other than the big live screen kind of pre-test thing that was going on, that was being narrated by Jeranism, Bob, and Dearth, um, the were there any other tests performed beyond that live stream?
You mean the live
At
stream from the Peloton?
right?
Yeah, we've had the Force the Level live stream.
No, 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 no. I'm talking about specifically the laser test.
No,
Other than that live stream, were there any other ones performed?
no. The first test, the 20 kilometers to 27 kilometers, I did here was basically only to test the GPS system, and I had nothing set up to actually document the event. I
Okay.
should have. It was a lesson
Which
learned.
now which test was it in the Netherlands? The one with the target then?
Yeah, the first test that we did here in the Netherlands was the 20 kilometers to 27.
Okay, so that was the one that you actually hit the target on then.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering because one of the points of critique that we had about the live stream from the laser tests is although Bob was sitting there singing that it was flat Earth confirmed. It was obvious in the background when you listen to the people who were actually performing the tests, not the narrators, that the blue team, should I say the blue laser team, who was at the distant end, not where it was being filmed, um, was not able to see the green laser from the hotel, because they were actually saying, we'll flash it and you let us know when you see it. Um, so I was just
The Peloton was, no, although we did try our best to get a result, it was a bit of a fiasco. Everybody, at least me, before I went there, I got terribly sick with pneumonia,
mm,
and it was -11 there with the wind force 8 shearing on your face with the slush puppy from the lake hitting your face at 4 a.m. in the middle of the night. So it was kind of hard
oh yeah,
to.
I know what our winters are like.
And,
I'm in Germany,
we,
so
we still refer to it as the hell of Peloton.
mm,
It was really tough to actually get a result there, and the hardest problem was that we were having was knowing where to look, because only Sandor was from Hungary, and he was um, not we were scanning a specific area, and Sandor is in one place, and then all the other guys were spread over a distance, and only Sandor knows where to look, and me on the laser side, because we didn't have the GPS targeting system, all I had was a rough estimate of where I thought Sandor would be, and that's where we aimed the laser at. So the procedure was flawed, and it was in no way perfect to get what we actually set out to do, which was the 66 kilometers. So
right.
there was a hard lesson learned, and yeah, I wouldn't want to repeat it under the same conditions. Absolutely not.
Hmm. All right. Well, you want to go ahead and sum this up today? I'll let you have what do you call it? I'll let you close out on whatever thoughts that you need to clear your mind on, and what do you call it? And then we'll go ahead and wind this up because we said 20 minutes and we've gone about 40.
Yeah, well, and if we're talking in this manner, then we could basically probably go on for another hour. But that to sum up this, Sly, I enjoyed this conversation, and I must say that it's a different conversation than I anticipated, based on what I've heard from you so far.
Hmm.
I I I think it's a good thing that we did this, and I would like to ask you to at least discourage your other panel members in the future to make these statements of fraud and dishonesty without showing the proper evidence to prove that. I've just shown you that it's actually the other way around. So that's what I would expect not to happen anymore.
Yeah. Well, the what do you call I will do my best to have people at least back up their comments if they have comments to make in a negative sense. Okay.
Correct.
What do you call it? Which is what I expect of anybody else. So there's no reason for me not to expect that of the people who are, dare I say, on my side of the discussion.
Yep.
What do you call it? So now, like I said, I might throw in a har every now and then, but I make it very clear that, if I'm discussing something that I haven't researched, I usually make it very clear that I don't know the solid answer on something. But I will do. I promise to do my best to make sure that my folks back up their statements. Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you call it? So I'm going to go ahead and sum this up, and I look forward to your future tests. Yes, you can look forward to my questions and or critiques on them, as you should, to be honest, in a peer review sense, especially on the radio test because I actually come from tactical communications where I've worked with LOS radios in SHF, UHF, and tropo configurations. So I will probably have a couple, two, three words to say about that if I see anything that doesn't sound kosher. Now, like I said, but that is me critiquing the test, not saying something
All
like Mike is an asshole or something like that. You know that's
no, no,
that's me
and
critiquing the test.
I'm not a microwave expert. Definitely not, and it's, the only one that I would actually consider a an expert on the subject matter is the project manager itself, and it's Rob. And both Rick Zimmerman and I think Bob also have radio licenses, and I
Hmm.
think Bob actually worked in the field as a radio operator. But the test that we're going to do, or the record that we're going to set, is going to be overseen by, um, let's say, the national largest corporation of that specific country that actually or installs or operates these radio antennas. So
Yeah.
we have the third party there to actually validate that what we're doing is correct.
Okay. Well, like I said, I look forward to it. I've seen, in tactical communications, I've seen some weird stuff. And so therefore, I'm open to a little bit of anomaly, of course. Um, I remember going out when I was deployed to Bosnia. I went out to a place called Blue Factory, and they had a band one antenna, a line of sight antenna, pointed at the top of a hill, even though the radio, the receiving end, the other end of that shot, was actually on the other side of the hill. And we made jokes to him and stuff. Unfortunately, I was set correct by a chief warrant officer, but the we'd make jokes. We were like, "What do you think you're gonna do? Lob the radio signal over the hill, and all this?" And then he set me correct by telling me that the radio signal the radio signal itself was being reflected slash they called it refracted, but it's actually reflected off the foliage at the top of the hill, which I thought was really kind of cool. And I mean, yeah, okay, it was greatly degraded and stuff like that, but it still made the radio shot. And then I have my experience using. Are you familiar with tropo radio?
No.
Okay, well, it's tropospheric scattering, where basically a radio shot is shot upwards and it bounces off not straight up, of course, but at a specific angle, and it bounces
Yeah,
off the troposphere.
I've heard the phrase tropospheric scattering.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, it's a what do you call it? It's a great technique for very long radio things, radio shots. And so I mean, I have my experience. I was in the military for 8 years, specifically around that genre of equipment. And so like I said, I really look forward to see what you guys come up with. So
Yeah. Well, the antennas that we're going to use are they're heavy duty. They're very heavy. And I'm fortunately the lucky one that's going to be climbing up an antenna tower for I think it's 40 meters high to actually install it myself.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
fun.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be on my vacation. So
Yeah. All right. So, like I said, even though I've already tried about 3 times, but I get a little bit jabber. What do you call it? I'm going to wind this up, and I'm going to say, Mike, it's been a pleasure talking to you,
yeah,
and I look forward to possible future meetings of this sort, uh, and uh, and hope we can discuss out some other things and results, and maybe even a couple of opinions thrown around, and on future endeavors. Okay.
sure, why not?
All right. Well, then I'm gonna go ahead and send you out, and what do you call it? So you can go ahead and hang out when you want to, and now I'm just gonna do my typical closeout here. I'm not gonna throw any bad words after this, uh, and and I wish you a pleasant evening.
Yeah, yeah. Good night, everybody, and thanks for listening.
All right, pal.
Bye bye.
All right. Okay. So started out ready to throw blows with each other. Turned out to be a decent discussion. That's the way this is supposed to be. Um, we can have differing opinions. We can have differing stances on various things, um, but that's how you have this conversation. You show things. You back up your words. You say what you got to say, and be ready to have it critiqued. Um, and I really hope that everybody enjoyed this. Um, please forgive me for saying this to others who have not or have outright refused to have discussions like this. This is how this discussion works. Okay. And again, I really appreciate both Mike's patience on Friday when I totally blew this up trying to get the stream started. And I thank him for his patience and his desire to continue the discussion. And to the well, it was up a little higher, but first of all, to those who gave me super chats, I saw them bounce up, but I didn't want to squeeze that into the discussion. So I thank all of you guys for those. That's very much appreciated. And to all the viewers that came by here, I really thank you for stopping by and listening all the way through. For those of you who hung out as long as you did, uh, and so let's see here. And now what was I doing? Slide back. There we go. Go like that, and then we'll go over like this. Loop. Oops, not loop. That one. And I wish everybody a pleasant evening.
Oh my god.
Oops. Well, that didn't work very well, did it? How about that?